Buckle up, folks. We've officially got a series between the Padres and the Dodgers. Jurickson Profar's RBI single broke a 3-3 tie in the sixth. And then Jake took a drive to the Crone Zone with a solo blast in the eighth inning as San Diego tied the NLDS at one game apiece. Series on. This was a high-level baseball game. Manny Machado got the party started, let everyone know that it wasn't going to be all L.A. all the time. That was huge early to set the tone and the tempo against Clayton Kershaw. He had a home run. He had an RBI double. Manny Machado is an excellent baseball player. You want him on your favorite team. The San Diego Padres are playing loosey-goosey. Padres are loaded with talent. They have a lot of confidence, obviously, after what transpired against the Mets. Now, being fair, I thought for sure that the Dodgers were going to win last night and Kershaw was going to be excellent. He was fine, gave up too many runs. The strikeout-to-walk ratio was excellent. Yu Darvish was fine, not spectacular as well. But it was the bats for San Diego and the bullpen. You want to talk about high-level relief pitching? Are you kidding me? The hero for the Padres last night was Robert Suarez. This was brilliant pitching. The strikeout of Turner, followed immediately by that double play, getting Lux to wrap it to that 4-6-3. And then this, you want to talk about the epitome of making big pitches when it matters the most? Suarez was superb. The defense for San Diego was outstanding. The bullpen in general in this series, even in game one of the loss, excellent. And this is right where it was able to pick up from the series against the Mets. Game three, I think the pitching matchup favors the LA Dodgers. Frankly, I would have opted to go with Anderson if I was Dave Roberts, but Gonsolin is certainly better than Blake Snell. That was a tremendous baseball game last night, pulsating. I thought the Dodgers were going to win. I was wrong. Even as the Dodgers got all those runners in scoring position, I kept thinking, all right, they're going to score. Barnes, I like when Dave Roberts went with him to bat for Bellinger. I thought for sure the Dodgers would be able to cash in. Padres, obviously, historically, the last few years and throughout their history, always get destroyed by their older brother from Los Angeles. So that was an incredible moment for the Padres, who go home now for game three. Still think the Dodgers win this series and the World Series. But for the Padres, they believe it's their time to shine. Sunday's kind of a huge deal for Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. This season has been a struggle so far for Joe Burrow. It just hasn't been crisp or clean or dominant. Look, Joe Burrow, to me, entered this year as a top 5 quarterback in the NFL on the heels of that majestic Super Bowl run where everything was coming up Joe Burrow. This year, he's been good. The offensive line, you see the sack numbers right there at the bottom of the screen. Offensive line has been problematic. They haven't run the ball with authority. That's really disappointing. But at the end of the day, the Bengals rankings, I mean, it kind of tells an accurate story here on just how Cincinnati and Joe Burrow stuck in the mud. Now, if it wasn't for bad luck, Cincinnati this year would have none at all. They could have won all 3 of the games they lost. I still can't believe they lost to Baltimore or the Dallas game on CBS. And if it wasn't for the long snapper getting hurt week 1 on CBS against Pittsburgh, I mean, they're close to being 5-0. I still think the Bengals are going to win the division. I still think they're the best team in the AFC North. But we're not ready to put them in the conversation with Buffalo or Kansas City. Frankly, the Chargers, for that matter. Obviously, Baltimore just beat them head-to-head. So this is a big matchup on CBS for the Cincinnati Bengals, taking on the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans has underachieved. You know, New Orleans is going to be salty. But I still believe in Joe Burrow, the Burrow-Chase connection, Mixon running the ball. We just need to see it in 2022. Welcome back. Time to shine. Absolutely thrilled to be joined by my guy, the great Tony Romo, who is part of the team that called that epic division round game with the Bills and the Chiefs last year. Tony, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on. And by the way, I just want to say congratulations. 1,500. Are you kidding me? Nobody makes it past 1,000. So you must be doing something right there, Mr. Schein.
No, Tony, I appreciate that. And your words, they mean the world. So we're having fun, just like you, whenever we're on CBS Sports. And listen, you lead the league in fun. And that game was a classic at Arrowhead last year, January, divisional round, CBS. I've argued best playoff game ever. It's the backdrop to the rematch this Sunday. Describe the ambiance, the special quarterback play in that Kansas City and Buffalo game in January.
Well, it's one of those games where you've almost been around. So I thought like 2009 or 10 in that era, you had an older Brett Favre. You had, the young guys from Aaron Rodgers to, I don't want to call them young, but Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees. You had Phillip Rivers. You had Eli Manning. Kurt Warner was playing. I mean, you had so many highly talented and high level quarterback play at that position during that time. I thought that was the golden era. And now all of a sudden you look at it and you're like, maybe this is the golden era. And the standard is these two guys. Like, you look at it and you're like, this is the game that it's a collision course. These two teams are going to play in the playoffs. And if they don't, it means somebody upset one of these two. But each year going forward, you're going to see Josh Allen go against Patrick Mahomes over and over again. And it reminds me of Peyton Manning versus Brady. And I think that these two teams also are just incredibly built, and the organizations are, doing things at a high level, that you're going to see this kind of matchup, over and over. This could be, I know it's early, but this could be for home field advantage in the playoffs.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I love the way you compared this matchup at the quarterback position to Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, because that is really what it feels like. So let's hit on the specific quarterbacks, Tony. And in your opinion, what makes Patrick Mahomes so special?
Where do I get started? I think the number one thing you see is instincts. It jumps off the page at you. He has the ability to sense and feel things that others don't. And his ability just to, gets guys open with his eyes, and then he gets guys open with his arm. And then what's happened over the course of his career is he's developed his knowledge for football at a higher level. And now all of a sudden he's able to look them off sooner and understand concepts and where coverages are trying to dictate certain things. And so he gets people open that way. So I wasn't really worried about them losing Tyreek Hill as much as others, because I just knew the evolution of him, it would only make him learn the game even tighter. And I think you're seeing a guy really go right into his prime right now. And his efficiency and what he's doing, it's about as good as you're going to see.
And, Patrick has had that kind of Michael Jordan, and I took that personally, quality to him. This after Tyreek Hill left, and you didn't expect the decline. I certainly did, just for Kansas City and the explosiveness in general. And, Tony, now Patrick Mahomes, an underdog for the first time ever, at home as a quarterback. 41 straight games he was favored. That's crazy. So how much is that going to motivate him?
Well, I don't think that's going to motivate him as much as the matchup. So it's like when you become a guy like Patrick, it's almost like it reminds me of Clyde Drexler coming into Michael Jordan in the, I think it's 1993 when he played, or 92, when he was in the NBA Finals. And everyone was saying, maybe Clyde Drexler is right there with you. I mean, I know you're Michael Jordan, but at the end of the day, Clyde he had an MVP type season, and maybe he's as good as you. And I think that guys who are on that level take offense to that a little bit. So I think he's got plenty of motive there. The funny part, though, is I don't think that Josh Allen is Clyde Drexler. I think that he's really good. And not to take anything away from Clyde Drexler, I'm just saying that I think that these two guys both possess rare qualities, and this game is going to be one to watch, no question.
You played against Andy Reid coach teams during your career. You know better than anyone, they're always so buttoned up. How has this Kansas City offense changed? You referenced it, but slam it home for us. How has it changed without Tyreek Hill under the guidance of Andy Reid?
Well, that's one of Andy's greatest traits is his ability. I mean, you can go back to A.J. Feely, to a number of backup quarterbacks when Donovan McNabb or somebody else was hurt. All of a sudden, Coy Detmer, I mean, guys always had success. And, Alex Smith had success under Andy Reid, and he's obviously a good quarterback. But the truth is, you give him a generational talent, and you get to see just this rare, grouping of two people who are at the highest level. And so Andy Reid is always going to put his quarterback in a position to succeed. But also Patrick Mahomes is always going to put the coach in a position to succeed. So you give them together, and all of a sudden it's like week in, week out, they're going to be a rare challenge for every defense.
Really is a special combination. Now, to your point, and I understood that example. I love that you took the Jordan comparison and ran with it before. Josh Allen's no Clyde Drexler. He's an ox, and he has become a true superstar quarterback. And Tony, you know this. You play the position. When you're on that kind of roll, that kind of heater, I mean, my goodness. He's unstoppable right now, going back to last season. What makes him so amazing in playing at this level?
Well, I think there's multiple things. I think number one, him and Patrick have a lot of similar traits in that they have rare arm talent. So from a basketball perspective, since we're going with that, they have the ability to throw the ball 50, 60 yards to Gabriel Davis, as you're seeing here. We did this game last week, and he had to hit it in a 1-foot circle. But he has his feet are flat. He doesn't need to, use leverage to get a ball down the field, to the wide side of the field, outside the numbers, or to a 40-yard ball on the sideline. He just has the ability to, everyone's flick their wrist, but the truth is they have perfect mechanics, and their leverage is perfect that they don't have to, move into a throw. So they can actually be calm in the pocket and be able to throw to multiple positions and spots from not moving their platform. And I think that's a rare trait. And then at the same time, I think that Josh Allen has the ability to, when you take it away, if everyone's covered, he can run. And, Mahomes does the same thing, but Josh does a little more situationally when it comes to quarterback runs, quarterback powers, 4th and 2, let him run the football. But both these guys have really similar stuff. The biggest thing is they're both coming into the prime of their career where their knowledge of the game is meeting up with their physical capabilities. And in 5 years from now, they may not be as perfectly at the highest level with their physical attributes, but their knowledge will only grow. But you're seeing both these guys come into it where they're both meeting. And then you go ahead and give talent around them with a good offensive system. And now you're seeing two guys who are really hard to beat. And it takes, if you're going to beat either one of these guys, you have to do something perfect on one side of the ball.
I love the way you phrase that about Josh Allen and his ability to run and those designed runs and runs with a purpose and the talent around him. And look, Gabe Davis is back. You alluded to that. You saw it firsthand on CBS last weekend. Tony, what kind of pressure does that 1-2 punch of Diggs and Davis put on a defense?
Well, it's a lot. I mean, Gabe Davis had a little ankle injury and he wasn't quite at full strength. And then last week, when I was out there watching before at practice, it was ooh, he's got his burst back. And I think the quarterback knows that. The offensive staff knows that. And so as soon as practice is to show what we're capable of doing and what we want to throw out or what we want to keep in. And I think they saw very quickly that this guy has an opportunity with how they're going to play the coverages to be one-on-one down the field. And they took full advantage of that. Now, Kansas City, whether they take that away or not, I mean, you can only take away so much. But I do think that both these teams are going to try and make the other quarterback drive the field. And, I mean, you saw it last year in the playoffs. It's really hard to get these quarterbacks off the field. They don't go 3 and out very often, and they're both as good as anybody in the league on third down. So whether it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 11, 14, I mean, these are the two guys you're yeah, I still feel like they're going to get it, where Other teams, you're not thinking that way. And so this is going to be a really exciting game. I mean, I'm really pumped. Me and Jim Nance and our team, Tracy Wolfson, Jim Rickoff, Mike Arnold, we're really excited to call this game.
Oh, I can't wait for it. And Tony, you touched on it earlier. Finally, it's the game of the year. No exaggeration, on CBS. Winner in the driver's seat for the 1 seed, the coveted bye. Home field in the AFC all postseason. Slam this home from a player's mentality, just how gigantic this is, with all that said, for both teams.
I think it's bigger than people realize right now because it's so early in the year. So it really is like, okay, it's another game. That's what the players are going to say, and that's what they should say. I mean, because truly you're in the 1 week mentality and you don't look to the next week because you could lose any given week. Like, everyone is good in the NFL. But when you have Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, you have an advantage, and you always do. And it's like, even if you didn't have the perfect scheme this week, they can overcome that. Even if you didn't have, your team at full strength from a health perspective, people are out and injured, you can still overcome that with these guys. But when they go against each other, all of a sudden those advantages go really small. And so the advantage comes down to home field. And Kansas City has that this week. And because of that, you find very quickly that whoever wins this game really has a 2-game advantage the rest of the year. These two teams are going to finish at 14-3, 13-4. I mean, it's going to be somewhere in there. I mean, there's a chance one of them finishes 15-2, but just the law of averages you think they're going to lose 1 or 2 more going in just because the ball bounces differently. But to think that you have to make up 2 games on one of these 2 quarterbacks, that's a lot. I mean, and neither one of these quarterbacks wants to go on the road and play against the other quarterback because the advantages you have at home, I mean, it's 20%, I would argue, at least, from a quarterback perspective. You get to tell everybody when you're at home, when it's quiet, you can look over and be like, no, move your split down. Come over here. Actually, switch the play. Let's do this. When you're on the road, you're like, how do I tell them to move that split down? I got to move them with my hand. Forget it. It's not worth it. Oh, the clock's going down. I mean, it's a big deal. This is a huge game.
Tony, you're the best. Thank you so much for joining us here on Time to Shine. We'll be watching you and Jim Nance and Tracy Wolfson on the call for the Buffalo Bills versus the Kansas City Chiefs, the rematch, this Sunday, 4:25 Eastern on CBS. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell for more videos.